Hello, I'm Rico Caviglia, and this is the Ageless Body Self-Care Guide Operations Manual for your body and for your mind. And the topic of today's session is how to detox your home. I think a lot of people these days are realizing that it's important to cleanse your body and to detox your body, but I don't think they realize that as much how much our homes, the houses that we live in, are an extension of our body. So it's so important. So we're going to learn really a lot of hidden toxins and how we can remove those from our environment. And we have the perfect expert and teacher today. Her name is Amy Carlson, and she is known as the Toxic Terminator. I like that, Toxic Terminator. And she is the host of the Toxic Terminator podcast, a best-selling author and featured expert guest on numerous podcasts and summits. Amy has spent the last 7 years removing hidden toxins from her own home to be free of chronic disease and has helped hundreds of other people to do the same. So, Amy Carlson, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, what an honor to be a part of this project. What an endeavor that you've undertaken here and really helping people to take a look at their health and wellness in its entirety. And what a special project to be a part of. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right, well, let's just dive right in here. So, my very first question is just to have you talk a little bit about some of the different toxins that are in our homes, or not some of them. Let's talk about all of them. And I know you're going to have some that most people aren't aware of.
Absolutely. So, in my endeavors, I really discovered that there's basically five different areas that we're exposed to hidden toxins in our home. And that's through the air that we're breathing,
Mhm.
it's through the food that we're eating, it's through the water that we're either drinking, and we're going to get into my other favorite topic with water. It's through absorption. What are we absorbing through our skin? And it's also mental. I don't want to forget the mental aspect of toxins because we can clean up everything around us. And if we don't clean up the words that we're choosing to say over
Yeah.
ourselves, if we
Mm.
don't clean up what we're speaking and the energy we're putting out there, we're still toxic. What do you,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and also, I'm sure you're going to talk about also, all the products, all the chemical products that we put in our body that into our house that are toxic, and then also, building materials. A lot of building materials have a lot of toxic chemicals. I know some people that are so sensitive that certain houses I knew a friend that tried to move into this house. They bought the house and then she just couldn't stay in that house because
Yeah.
she was sensitive to some of the building materials. So let's go ahead and break that down, all the different toxins that we're faced with in our homes.
Absolutely. Well, and this is, I think, so important for our listeners to understand is number one, I don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed. We are exposed to toxins in so many different areas in our life. And so I talk about everyday hidden toxins. You brought up a good point with building materials, and that's certainly an issue that we have to be concerned about. But we're getting into big major changes in our lives when we undertake building materials, some of them anyway. And we can talk about that at the end if you want to. But I like to take what's in our hands, what's in our control, that's really going to impact the quality of our everyday life. So, what we can control are those five different areas I talked about. So
Good.
let's first start talking about air. I always talk to people about air, and I want to back up just a moment if I might, because here's another thing I want people to understand is that I was in the automotive industry for better than 30 years. And in the automotive industry, we're highly regulated, highly regulated. So I did not ever think that the products I was buying on the shelf in the stores was not safe for me and my family. Because if my industry was so heavily regulated, then so was everybody else. And it had to be safe. And as I dove into this, because I had my own chronic illnesses that I dealt with, I soon found out that that was so far from the truth.
Mhm.
And that the products we're buying on the shelves are not regulated. They're beginning to get more so, but they're still not. The preface that here in the United States we hold is prove it's not safe versus we have to prove it's safe for you to use. And that should make you angry. It really should. And this last year, we're spending more and more time at home. We are exposed to more and more cleaning products. We're exposed to the hand sanitizers, and we'll talk more about those in detail. But we have so many exposures now today than we even did just a year ago.
Hmm.
So when we talk about air, mostly what we're talking about is what we're breathing in. So what is in the air that is happening in our homes? And the number one toxicant that I like to talk about is fragrance. Because here's the secret with fragrance is it is the new secondhand smoke. It is found to be just as dangerous as smoke is to an individual. It is a known lung irritant. So if you have asthma or any kind of breathing issues, this is something you definitely do not want in your home. And not only that, it's a neurotoxin. So neurotoxin means that anything dealing with the brain, it is going to escalate and make it worse. So if you're a person who suffers from headaches, migraines, any kind of neuro issues, anything's going on with your eye, mental fatigue, mental fog, these memory issues, the ADD, ADHD, any mental, issues, fragrance is going to exacerbate any of those issues that you have going on for yourself. So when I talk about fragrance, I would like to talk to you guys about what you can do. Rico, is that okay if I give them a
Yeah.
tip? Okay. So what we want to do is we want to look for products that say fragrance free.
Mm.
So I'm not there. There's a thing that happens out in our industry, and it's called greenwashing. And so you'll see so many products now that say unscented, or even worse yet, we're seeing a whole lot of products out there that are jumping on the essential oil bandwagon and saying, oh, it's infused with essential oils. But we don't know what quality that is, and we don't know if it's any better off than the fragrance that's in there. So unscented, just for your information, it is still has the fragrance in it. It is just being chemically altered to cover up the smell of the fragrance. So there's even more chemicals in it. So fragrance free is the wording you want to be looking for.
Very good. Such a good tip. Yeah. I know one of the worst ones I think is all those air fresheners, right? And they have
Oh,
all the, yeah.
my gosh. These are one of the things that I suffered from were headaches and migraines my entire adult life. And honestly, Rico, I blamed it on stress. I had a very high stress job. I was told that it was stress. I had seen numerous specialists. I even lost vision on the left side. And
Oh,
and what I found was that as soon as I got rid of fragrance, now fragrance is hidden in many, many things. Um, your two biggest culprits are what you clean with and what you do laundry with. So those are your two biggest culprits, but we need to be looking at more than that. But as soon as I removed fragrance from those two items alone, I stopped having migraine headaches.
yeah. So good.
They absolutely stopped. So there's some things that we can do that are so easy to make that change and so easy to have such a huge impact in our overall health and wellness. And we just have to choose to do that. And some people are even sensitive to natural fragrances. And what I mean by that are things like essential oils that come from plants. So that's okay. You just get to learn what your body's telling you, right?
Absolutely. So do you recommend people have an use air purifiers in their house?
Absolutely. So Air Doctor has an excellent system that you can use. I also diffuse in my house. I actually find that there are essential oils that I can use that clean the air far better than any air purifier or air system that is being used. Again, if you are sensitive to all scents, all even natural fragrances, then definitely you want an air purifier, because those are going to go after mold, bacteria, airborne viruses, all that type of thing that is carried in the air, and clean that up. So you'll want to look at, what's the square footage that you need to have covered, and that type of thing as well. But there are studies out there that show that essential oils can absolutely clean and purify that air even stronger than some of the machines that are out there.
Well, I know mold is one of the biggest problems. So talk about how can people find out if they do have mold in their house that's causing them some problems.
So, number one, mold toxicity comes in many, many different forms. So let's back us up just even a moment further here, and let's just talk about when our bodies are overwhelmed with toxins, what kind of symptoms might we be having in the body? Because mold is a toxin. So any kind of a toxin, I don't care what it is, if your body cannot expel it and you've got too much, you've got this bioaccumulation happening, you're going to have some symptoms happening in the body. So if you are experiencing some of these, then you have to get down to what is the toxicant that is causing this issue for me. It could be mold, it could be any number of things, and it could be a combination of many of these things as well. So some of the first things that begin to happen when our bodies are overwhelmed and we just cannot process all the toxicants that we're exposed to is we get a change in our body odor. So that's number one. We have a change in the body odor, or we might notice a difference in our skin, where we might have had dry skin, we now have oily skin, or vice versa, oily to dry skin. So we get a just change in our skin. I'm not talking rashes yet. That's a buildup as well. And that can happen because the skin is our largest organ in our body. And so when our body can't push it out naturally through the kidneys and the livers and through our sweat, and there's too much to come out, it will show up on our skin surface as a rash, eczema, psoriasis, those types of things. You can have experiencing brain fog, memory issues, insomnia, lack of energy. You can have digestive issues, where you're bloated, you're gassy, you're constipated, or you have diarrhea. These are all symptoms that toxins are building up inside your body. And then, of course, we've got mental health going on. If you suffer from depression, anxiety, these types of things, you're, just in this state of fog, that could be, that you have a lot of toxins that are built up in the body. And so what we have to do is we have to dive down in and find out what it is. Now, there are some tests that you can take that can tell you exactly what toxicants that are happening in your body, from exposures that is being absorbed in through our food, our water, our skin, and then food sensitivities as well, because sometimes it's just our food that we're sensitive to as well.
Yeah, well, that's good information. Thank you so much for that. And I just want to add, unfortunately, still our mainstream allopathic medicine system, they don't get into that toxins could be causing your problems. They just, again, want to treat your symptoms. So we always want to recommend that if you're having any of those symptoms that you just mentioned, I highly recommend you consult with like a naturopathic doctor, or someone who's going to really discover the root cause and not just try and give you something to mask the symptoms.
Well, and that's what I experienced for myself for better than 12 years of, my adult life, going from, doctor to doctor and specialist to specialist, and spending countless, dollars to find out that really the root of things were right inside my home. And I just needed to make changes. Holistic practitioners, functional medicine practitioners are all great resources. And my journey would have been much shorter had I gone into some of that functional testing very early on. So if you have a good functional medicine practitioner, I highly recommend them. Test, don't guess, get it figured out. What's
I,
going on. So we talked about air, and I talked about fragrance being one of the biggest issues. And let's talk about food. Hopefully our audience has heard about pesticides and herbicides and the importance of buying organic food. What I'd really like to talk to our audience about is whole foods, not buying foods that are highly processed. When we buy foods that come in a package, when we buy foods that are in, not necessarily in the freezer, but in the package, and we turn that label around and we start reading it and we see the ingredients list is a mile long and we can't even pronounce, some of the things that are in there. It is so highly processed that it really is not even any nourishment to your body anymore. And by avoiding those processed foods, we're going to avoid so many other things: the processed sugars, the corn syrups, the artificial flavorings and food colors and dyes. We just avoid that. And I really encourage you to look at a whole foods diet. Um, I'm with you. When I first started this journey, I thought, oh my gosh, just whipping up a box of macaroni and cheese is so much easier,
Yeah.
than doing X, Y, and Z. And what I'm telling you is that eating whole foods is actually so much easier to do. And it's just a matter of planning things out so that you don't waste the fresh produce that you're purchasing, and planning that out because you're meal planning whether you think you are or not. And so I really want to encourage people to look at, if your great grandparents didn't eat it, you shouldn't be either.
Yeah, that's so good. And one thing about Whole Foods, it doesn't come with a label, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about reading the label. It doesn't come with a label, right? It's
Exactly.
already it's
Yep.
already made the way Mother Nature intended it to
Yep.
be for us. So that's so good. Yeah, food is so important. And again, we want to avoid genetically modified foods and all those sort of
Oh,
things as well.
and if we're not buying it in a package, it's not going to be. Now, there's still some produce out there that's been GMO, genetically modified. So you have to watch those ratings on there. There's a couple of resources that are fantastic. Well, again, whole foods. And I'm not here to discuss with you, you need to eat vegan or you need to eat carnivore or you need to eat paleo. You get to decide what your body's dictating to you that works best for your system, because everybody's body is a little bit different. I just encourage you to really implement more of those whole foods into your meal planning,
Okay,
for
that's
sure.
so good. Well, I'd like you to just mention real briefly when people begin to go through their homes and get rid of all these different chemicals and
Mhm.
cleaning things and pesticides and Roundup and all those things, so to make sure that they dispose of them properly.
Right. Well, okay. So here, you're going to want to check with your municipality. So, if you have something, okay, so let's talk about this: pharmaceuticals.
Mm,
I lost my brother in 2008. And he was in hospice care. And after he passed away, the nursing staff came in. He passed away in our home, and she wanted his medications. And I said, well, what are you going to do with them? And she took them, flushed them down the toilet.
mm, not good. Yeah.
Not the right way. People, and this comes into water safety, but we have to be responsible about what we're doing. So you need to check with your municipalities and find out what systems do they have in place that take hazardous materials, that take biohazardous materials, as medications are, and we don't want that going into our waterway and our systems. And I wouldn't just throw away any of your cleaning products, laundry products, and that type of thing. And we just certainly don't want them getting into our soil, going into, so call your trash providers, your sanitation providers, and find out, where you can dispose of these products. For the average consumer, there are lots of places that we can do that within our cities.
Thank you so much. That's just good information. Okay, well, let's just talk a little bit about now. So, what you recommend now that people are aware of this, and so if they're saying, "Well, how should I get started?" What do you recommend? How do you recommend people that get started to start to detoxify their homes?
Oh my gosh. So, we want to look at, again, we're looking at what's in our air, what food are we using, the products that we're using on our bodies. We need to look for clean products. Now, there's so many sources for clean products now that we can start using. My top four ingredients to avoid are parabens, phthalates, sulfates, and fragrance. So I make sure that those four chemicals are not in any products that I allow inside of our home. Now, I'm going to give you a free app that you can download onto your phone. So when you're looking at the products that you're using inside your home, you can see what the safety rating is. And it's called Think Dirty.
Oh,
It's
cool.
totally free. Let me see if I can pull it up here super quick for you guys.
Yeah, that's really good information. Is it thinkdirty.com?
It's an app.
Oh, it's an app.
It's
Okay.
an app, so you can download it onto your phone.
Okay.
Hang on a second, I'll show you.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's some really good information that you can help you out.
this is what it looks like. All right. And what you can do within this app is you can type in anything, your shampoo, what you're washing your dishes with, what you're cleaning your laundry with, your lotions, your makeup. You can type any of that in. It's going to give you a safety rating from 0 to 10.
So good.
Personally, I do not allow anything into my home that has a rating of higher than 3. So if it's a 3 or lower, it will be allowed into my home. The reason I like this app is not only does it give you the rating from 0 to 10, but it's going to tell you why. What is inside this product? What are the ingredients that give it a rating of a 7 or an 8, and what specifically it's doing to your body? So while you're learning, while you're going through this, so download the app and just start scanning the products in your home. You are going to absolutely be surprised at what the ratings are.
That is such good information. That's really what we're looking for, to give people some really good information, some things that they can really learn, and something concrete and scientifically based that they can begin doing. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank
Yep.
you so much for that.
Yep. The
We,
woman who created this app did so when her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so, ladies, we all know that the products that we're using on our body are really attributing to the endocrine disruption that is happening inside of our bodies. And so that's why this app even came into existence. And it's truly a wonderful app that really is a godsend for you to start with.
Thank you so much for that. So I
You
want to
bet.
remind all of our viewers that along with this video, there comes a PDF, and in that PDF, you have all the contact information, how you could contact Amy. And I know she has a lot more information on her website. I know she does some coaching. So you definitely want to connect with all of our experts, and especially here, if you go to Amy's site, you're going to learn a lot more. So what we do here in these videos is just give you the basic information that you need to know and how you can get started. And you've really got some really good information today of how you do that. But be sure and also connect with all of our experts, and it's going to be really helpful for you. So we're down to my last question for you, Amy, and this is the hardest one to answer of all. Okay, and this one is, because I like to always remind people that knowledge without action is useless, right? So you've got to take action on it. So what ideas do you have to actually to help get people motivated to take some action on your recommendations?
Think about what you want 80 to look like.
Mm.
Think about, what is that going to feel like? What's that going to look like? What is that going to feel like? Do you want to be active? Do you want to be traveling with your husband? Do you want to be active in your grandkids and great grandkids by that time lives? Or do you want to be wheelchair bound? And do you want to be not having all your faculties about you? Now, there's no guarantees in life, but the choices that you are making today are absolutely going to impact what that future looks like for you. And it's truly in your hands. It absolutely is in your hands. And so I always ask people, what do you want that future self to look like?
That is so good. That just reminds me of what I like to tell people. Generally we think we can't really predict the future, but when it comes to our health, we really can predict the future, because how we're taking care of ourselves and just all the things we talked about in this video, what we're doing today is definitely going to predict our health in the future. So that was perfect. That was so good. So again, all I can say is I just hope that you'll take these recommendations to heart and begin to take action on them. And I promise you, when you do, when you take the recommendations of all of our experts, you're going to be able to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. And that's what this whole project is all about. So Amy, that was so good. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I just, it's my passion to make a difference in people's lives and help people transform, what their day looks like.
And that's what you're doing. And I really thank you for your great work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.